everyone, I'm Devin, your friendly neighborhood board gamer. This is Devin Talks Tabletop, the YouTube channel where the games are made up. What I say doesn't matter. Oh, timestamp. Cheese knife. Not needed for this one. Regency is a quite vicious card collection game where, let me just open it up and show you what's going on. So this is a game where the goal is you play as these different historical figures from different points in history. You know, you have people like Ahsoka the Great, Eric Bloodaxe, Cleopatra the Seventh, Henry Every, Isabella the First of Castile, Julius Caesar, Charlemagne, Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, Richard the Lionheart, Suleiman the Magnificent, Attila the Hun, William Wallace, Empress Theodora, Catherine the Great, Queen Elizabeth, Mansa Musa of Mali, Empress Wu Zetian, and then I don't know why there's a second Julius Caesar, but then Queen of Sheba. So you have all of these people here, and they all belong to different castes of citizens in terms of the style of play that they will allow you to start off as. But your goal is to coordinate the recruitment of various citizens. So every single leader has 6 different castes or types of citizens that you need to recruit, and the first player to get a citizen in all 6 of those spots wins the game. This board here in the center has the path of citizens, and only the bottom 3 are able to be recruited unless you have a specific power that says otherwise. But you have all of these citizens, and as they are laid out, they are available to be taken, along with the citizens that are already in other players' regions or, like player boards. So you really don't have a lot of components to the game Regency. You have the citizens, which make up this deck and rotate. You have your player boards, and then you have these event cards. These event cards are like the bread and butter of what you're doing. Some of them are going to have this lion symbol here, which kind of matches this lion symbol here on the box. And those are event cards that can be played by you at any time as long as you have the requirements that you need to play it, like the situation, because some of them are actions, some of them are reactions. And then you'll have other cards which have the citizen cast in that top left corner. So for example, this one is a crown which matches this nobility spot right here. And if you have a citizen in that part of your empire or a part of your dynasty, you are then able to play these cards because you have the required citizen that allows you to empower that action. So it's a vicious game, and I mean that in the sense that you kind of have to have the right mindset when you're playing Regency. When the players are sitting around the table, you've got the option of going after the citizens here, going after other players, but because your citizens can be stolen, you need to have both a defensive mindset and an offensive mindset. Because you can get more than one citizen in a location, it's always the outside one that can be stolen. So sometimes you do want 2 or more citizens in a spot to guarantee that that spot won't get emptied by other players on their turns. And it's not just that players have the option of being aggressive and they don't necessarily need to take it. You really do need to be a competitive player and strategizer when you're going through this, because that is going to be the most efficient way to retain the people and the citizens that you have got on your board, and also take away the citizens that other players have. Because taking citizens from other players not only gets you closer to victory of having the 6 or protecting some that you've already got allocated onto your player mat, what it also does is it debuffs the other players and makes it less likely that they'll be able to play all of the types of cards. Because if you don't have the required citizen that goes in that spot and powers that card, you can't play this, which means you can only use it for the influence value in the bottom left of the card. And the influence values are how you pay for this 5, 6, and 7 influence spots to get these citizens. So the fewer citizens that other players have, the less efficient they are in being able to combat you with reaction cards or action cards. And that's kind of the key mindset that you have to have when playing Regency. So if you're the kind of player that likes competitive games where the player interaction is low, then Regency is not going to be a experience that you probably enjoy a lot, because this is a very much back and forth. I hit you, you hit me, or you do something to me and I block it, or retaliate or stop it from happening. Prevention and retaliation are key things to do, along with aggressive moves against other players. So and depending on what other players are able to draft and where other players are in terms of the number of citizens that they have, you may be going after the same player because they're your most direct competition, or they have the particular citizens that you need. And that makes it to where you do kind of need to be in the right headspace when you're playing this, because if you think it's just going to be kind of like a laissez-faire, you're trying to accumulate citizens and you're not worried about the interactions, positive or negative, you're going to have with other players, you will likely be surprised by the kind of like very visceral, I'm going to continue to go after you across the entire game. Some games have an ebb and flow to the way that you interact with other players, and sometimes you'll be aggressively going against them, sometimes you won't be, and you'll be kind of more casually going into it. This is not that experience. This is very much going to be an aggressive, I'm always mindful that I could be attacked, I'm always focused on how I can defend myself, and I'm always looking as to what's the best thing. Do I need to focus on the citizens that are available here, or do I need to prioritize what other people have? So I think that's probably where this game is going to shine, is with people that are already cognizant of the style of play that it's going to be, and they're prepared for that, and they're excited by that. There are some play groups that really enjoy those kind of like take that experiences when they're playing with a game like this. And then there are going to be some players that aren't as like excited by that, and you just have to be mindful of it, because it's the kind of game that is going to require you to be conscious of what it takes to play it well. If you don't want to be like vicious or aggressive to other players, it may take you longer if you're more focused on just the citizen board and recruiting kind of that static, more straightforward way, rather than in the like blow by blow that you're going to do with other players. The nice thing about this game is that for vicious experiences like that, this plays quickly. You can play this game in 30 minutes, which means that it's not this protracted battle of wills between people that takes 60 to 90 minutes. This is a quicker game that takes 20 to 40 minutes, 30 minutes on average, and you're playing with 2 to 6 players. I'd recommend the 2 players has its own variant to it, but the 3 to 6 is kind of where this is intended. And the more players you have, the more you could probably spread out the misery of like what you're doing, and it won't feel like you're lashing out at any one player again and again if you have a smaller player count. So the larger player count, you're going to have probably a different distribution of citizens, a different variety of the number of events and actions and reactions that you'll play against each other. But there are some really fun and clever card combinations you can find in here, and it's definitely like a unique one. It doesn't have a lot going on in terms of components. It's got citizen cards, event cards, and your player boards, and that's it. And generally, you wouldn't necessarily even need the central board, but it is nice to have a physical space to place those citizen cards on top of, to where it's not just kind of a floating market. But yeah, this is Regency, designed by James Fazio. It is published by Peak Games, and it is a 3. I say 3. You can play it 2-player. 2 to 6 player game. It takes 30 minutes, and it allows you to kind of reinvent what could happen with different historical leaders and step into that world. So if it's something you're interested, check it out. This is kind of my first impressions based off of the couple games I've played of it, and I think that it will greatly depend on your play group that you're with, and also the player count that you're at in terms of how it's going to feel. If you're at lower player counts, it may feel more intentionally vicious between players because there's fewer people to pick on in the sense of who you might use actions against. And then the more players you have, maybe it'll take longer because there's more people to kind of even out what's happening and who's playing against who. So the king making or the lead that someone may get may not last as easily or come as quickly because of the larger player count. So depending on your group, depending on the number of players you are, this is maybe something you'll want to check out, but it's a game that I was interested in because I love history, so it was cool to see another alternate look at all of these different leaders and kind of see the artwork to take place out on the game. All right, well, I appreciate you guys listening to me. First impressions for Regency. Hope you have a good one. Timestamp.